next guest has been an international star for over 30 years and is still packing them in all over the world. So welcome back to Tom Jones. It's still there, boy. Oh, there's good wingman. Good to see you, son.
Everything all right?
Yeah, it's good to see you, Tom. Now.
Yes.
Oh, you have to undo it for yourself.
Oh, of course.
Nice.
So we can sit down in these trousers, that's the problem.
Yes. And that's right, those trousers. I once tried your trousers on. You remember, in the dressing room for a laugh, when Tom was having a cup of tea, I said, let's try these on. I need shoehorn, Vaseline. I had this red swirling mist come up around my eyes when I did the zip-up. Let's talk about, Thomas, you've been away far too long. I mean, from this show, it's been 5 years since you were here. And last time you were here, you were telling me that you were trying to get away from the knicker-throwing image.
Well, not really.
There's a lady in the audience. There's a lady here.
She's ready, huh?
Been waving red Welsh knickers in the air.
Well, as long as they're Welsh, I don't mind.
No, you don't mind. No. There might be a leak in them.
No, I don't mind the knicker throwing as long as it's in the right place.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like on stage when I'm doing up-tempo songs, you know, and then it's fine, it's a bit of fun and that's okay. But I did Wembley the year before last, and I was singing A Boy From Nowhere, you know, which is a very strong and tender ballad. And all of a sudden, you know, the underwear hit me right in the bloody... And it happened just, you know, that's what happened. Everybody started laughing. I'm in the middle of A Boy From Nowhere. So after I finished it, I said, look, I don't mind people throwing underwear at me when I'm doing some up-tempo songs or in between songs, but please not from a boy from you know, when I'm singing A Boy From Nowhere. Yeah. And everybody, you know,
they'd understand that.
They understood, yeah.
Tom, as you get more matured, you find the knickers are getting wider.
It's the opposite way, actually.
Yes?
Yeah.
Really, Tom?
But when women get bigger, see, the knickers get smaller, don't they?
No, I don't understand that, but if you'd like to draw me a diagram, I'll study it later. Tom,
yeah.
I mean, yes, you're still wiggling, though, aren't you? Whether you like the knickers or not, I think you'll be wiggling in your Zimmer, I just think...
I would think so, yes.
When you're going, that's something you have to do. Right?
Yeah, you have to do it.
Yeah. Do you think that somewhere along the line you could say, look, I'm going to concentrate even more... You've always concentrated on your singing, but there's such a big voice in there. You've got such a big voice. Do you ever think maybe... You know, maybe I should have tried opera. And I'm not being funny when I say
No, I know. Well, when I was younger and I took some singing lessons just to find out if I was singing correctly or not in my late teens. Excuse me. This lady in Wales, she was a soprano, and she said, you should be an opera singer. And I said, I like singing pop songs. I love rhythm and blues. I love rock and roll. And I think opera is just too restricting. You know, you really have to... There's only one way to sing opera, and that's the correct way. Yeah. So I didn't want to go into that. You know, I think you have much more freedom singing pop songs and R&B songs and gospel songs. You know, you can take liberties with them, as you can't with
they get annoyed.
opera.
The purists and the elitists would get a bit annoyed.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, anyway, you haven't seen Pavarotti doing it. It's not unusual, so I don't think that...
No.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got your son managing you these days.
Yeah.
In the last, what, 5 years, is it?
Well, ever since Gordon Mills, who was my original manager.
As long ago as that?
Yeah. Gordon died in 1986. Yeah. And Mark, my son, was travelling with me. He was doing my lighting before that. And he would always throw his 2 penneth in. I mean, if I was
Does he give good advice?
Oh, yeah, because he's very musical himself, you see. And he's got a great voice. He just doesn't want to be on stage. Yeah. But he's very musical, so he helps me a lot in listening to stuff that I don't have a chance to sometimes. You know, he's always up on what's going on, and he's always buying CDs and everything. But when Gordon died, I said, well, look, you know, he's always been saying it since he was a kid. Dad, you know, you ought to be doing this, and have a listen to this record, and this is what you want. So I said, now is your chance to...
Yeah. That's a good idea. I suppose if you got your son as a manager, I suppose you give him commission. Would you give him pocket money? You know, bag of sweets.
20 woodbines, you know.
What's the best advice he would have given you, do you think? Keep it modern. Keep that.
Well, and
look
not
in today's market.
Yeah, and not to take as much notice as the with the knicker throwing, with the underpants. At one time, I would use it, because as you know, when you first start to entertain, if something happens, you try to make the most out of it. You try to use it to your advantage rather than get thrown by it. So when that started to happen to me, when women started throwing their underwear at me, I would use it. I would say, wow, whose are these, and wipe the brow. And I wasn't really thinking. I was having fun with it.
Yeah.
But then I was getting reviewed on how many pairs of underwear were being thrown at me rather than what songs I was singing. So when Mark, my son, when he got involved, he said, look, if people are going to throw things at you, fair enough, but don't make an issue out of it. Yeah. Get on with the music, because that's what you are. First and foremost, you're a hell of a singer, and most of the audience, which is true, I would say 90% of the audience wants to hear me sing. Yeah. And then a small percentage...
They love the fun and the mood and all the nonsense.
Yeah, but not too much of it. You've got to know where to draw the line. And Marcus sort of looked at me in that way and said, be careful with all that.
There's an interesting parallel in this story. Although the man is much older than you, but Tony Bennett, his son took over his career at a time when it had just started to tread water a bit. And suddenly, because the boy was thinking in the 80s and 90s what you have to do, Dad, it took off. Yeah. And you met all those wonderful stars. You must be one of the few people that can sit down and say, tell us about Elvis, Tom. You met Elvis, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I knew him very well because I met him in 1965. And he had bought the records that I'd recorded. I mean, I was already...
That's nice. That's a bit of a kick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I first met him, I was there saying... I was all geared up to tell him how much he'd influenced me. And the first thing he said to me was, how the hell do you sing like that? And I said, well, coming from you, I mean, that is a compliment, because, you were one of the reasons that I do. Listening to Elvis Presley's records in the 50s. So we struck up a friendship then. And then, of course, when Elvis wanted to work Vegas again, because he worked there in the 50s and didn't make it, because rock and roll was not accepted then.
Clicked in, had it?
Not in Vegas anyway, Yeah. So he tried to go to Vegas in the 50s and it didn't happen for him. So when I went there in the 60s, he came to watch me work and told me...
Sit out front, or did he stand?
Oh, yeah, he sat out front and openly said, he said, look, I've come to see you work because I want to see what you do. Because he felt that we were similar.
Well, you were from the waist down, the pair of you.
Well, there you go.
You're one of the few men I know that wears his trousers out from the inside on stage.
That's right.
You go mad.
Yeah.
As I say, you'll be wiggling in your Zimmer. You did say that you were a fan of Elvis concerts and his songs, but you weren't too keen on the movie musicals, did you? You didn't like his musicals?
Well, neither did he.
No?
No.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, Colonel Parker got him into all that. Elvis Presley wanted to be a serious actor. He liked Jailhouse Rock. And King Creole was his favourite movie because he had a chance to act in it more.
But you've been making a few movies lately.
Well, yeah.
What about Mars Attack? You played yourself in that, right?
Yeah, Mars Attacks, yeah.
And that was with...
Well, Tim Burton was the director, so that's how I got into it.
A few names in Jack Nicholson, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Is that why your hair got set alight on the set?
Yeah. They were doing... And the stunt coordinator was an Englishman, so I don't know whether he was having a go at me because I was Welsh. But he said, I want you to do a few of the stunts yourself. And I said, fine, as long as it's not something I can't handle. And he said, but there's going to be some explosions. And I said, well, all right. So he said, like when the Martians come into the showroom and they start blowing up everybody, right, there's going to be some explosions starting. So as soon as the first explosion goes, you run into the wings. And as you pass the wings, there's going to be an explosion like that, but you'll already be past it by the time it goes off. But when we actually filmed it, and you see this, all of a sudden, it's not just bang, it's like boom, and these things start blowing up. So I made a dash for the side of the stage, and the thing went off as I got there. So I felt my hair, and I thought everything was okay. Till I got in the shower that night after the show, and I'm washing my hair, and I tried to get the brush to it, and I'm thinking, what the hell? It was all bloody burned. It was all it was all singed on the right-hand side. So the following day, I said, "You the handy bugger, you." And I said, "You know, you I said, "You know, you're telling me to run. It's going to be all right. Don't worry about it." I said, "I've singed all the side of my bloody hair." And he says, "Well, you'll be all right." He said, "You'll be all right today." He says, "Because you've got to run past a plane that's on fire, and it's going to be on your left side, so you." He said, "It'll even it all out for you." Jeez. So yeah.
And you were in the... You weren't in it. I think you should have been in the full Monty. You weren't in it. You weren't in it, but you did one of the songs turning out to be one of the big songs from the movie.
It was the last song in the film.
What's the title?
You Can Leave Your Hat On.
A good title, isn't it?
Yeah, because they all had, that's all they left on was their hats.
Would you fancy the part in that movie? I'm not going to ask which part. would you fancy doing a bit of that stuff?
Yeah, I would have done it, yeah. I'd have gone to full Monty,
Would you? Before everybody goes a bit funny on us here, you're going to do this track for us now?
Yeah.
And you're going to leave your hat on?
I'll leave it on,
and everything else on?
Exactly.
Tom Jones, isn't it good to see Tom again? Tom?
Thanks, mate. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Tom, you're going to sing for us now. On your mouth, Thomas. Tom Jones, you can leave your hat on.